Hello everyone and welcome to Anuradha and Harini Innovative Channel. Today we are going to have a past learning history session. So, are you all ready? In my latest video, I had told you all about France and the three estates. We also learned that the third estate members were treated really badly. But the three philosophers encouraged them to revolt against the king. Now they are extremely angry because the king rejected their proposal of having one member, one vote. Let's learn more about this chapter in the French Revolution Part 2. Let's start now. Now, I would like to tell you all about an assembly formed by the Third Estate members after the proposal was rejected. This came to be known as the National Assembly, which was formed on 20th June. What happened is, all the members of the Third Estate assembled in the hall of an indoor tennis court. Where was this indoor tennis court? In the ground of Versailles, right? Okay. After they assembled here, they declared themselves a national assembly and they promised that they won't disperse until and unless the constitution for France is drafted. What would this constitution of France do in such a way that France would become republic? It would limit the powers of the monarch. Okay, now let's see who led this national assembly. It was led by Mirabeau and Eight Science. What did these two people do for this national assembly? Though Mirabeau was born in a noble family, that means he was a part of the second estate, that is the nobility, he was convinced of the need to do away with the society of feudal privileges. He brought out a journal and delivered powerful speeches to the crowds assembled at Versailles. So you can see that even members of the noble family want to contribute and do away with the society of feudal privileges. Let's see what Abe Sieyès did. Abe Sieyès was originally a priest, but what did he do? He wrote an influential pamphlet called What is the Third Estate? Let's learn more about this. So now we've come to know that National Assembly is formed, but let's see the obstacles that come in its way. France was again under a substances crisis. Crowds of angry women stormed into the shops after spending hours at the long bakery. But now let's see what the king does. He ordered his troops to move into Paris, and a rumor also spread that he's going to have an open fire upon the citizens. The people were scared, but they were also ready to revolt. So an agitated crowd on 14th July stormed and destroyed the Bastille. Bastille is a fortress prison where 7 people were imprisoned. And why did they want it destroyed? Because it shows the despotic power of the king. When all this got over, rumors started spreading from village to village that the lords of the manor are going to hire bands of brigands who are on their way to destroy the ripe crops. So now this is really tense situation for people because they're already under substances crisis and now their crops are going to get destroyed. Okay, let's see what the peasants do for this. Peasants in several districts seized hoes and pitchforks and attacked the chotaks. What do you mean by chatworks? It means the large property owned by the king. So they did all this, they attacked and all because now they're ready to revolt, right? They also looted the hoarded grain and burnt down documents containing records of manorial dues. Large number of nobles fled from their homes. Why do you think the nobles will flee? Because after seeing the peasants revolting so much, they got scared because they were the lords of the manor, right? So they started fleeing so that they are in a safe place. Now Louis XVI, who is watching all this, he becomes scared, and after facing with the power of his revolting subjects, he finally recognized the National Assembly and also accepted that his powers would from now on be checked by the constitution. So they were excited. So immediately when the king said yes, I agree to this, they started giving laws. So what happened on the night of 4th August 1789, the assembly passed a decree which abolished the feudal system of obligations and taxes. So now, from now on, everybody has to pay taxes. It's a really clear point. Members of the clergy too were forced to give up their privileges. Tithes were abolished and lands owned by the church were confiscated. As a result, the government acquired assets worth at least 2 billion livres. Now, from this entire slide, we come to know that finally National Assembly is a success and the king has accepted the constitution also, and two laws have already been passed, like everyone has to pay taxes and tithes, the privileges of the clergy nobility, all these were taken away. Now let's see how France became a constitutional monarchy. Now the constitution has come into work, right? Because see, the feudal system is removed, the church's lands are confiscated, right? Now let's see, how does France become a constitutional monarchy? Finally, the National Assembly completed the draft of the constitution in 1791. What was the main objective of the constitution? As I've already said before, it was made to limit the powers of the monarch. These powers, instead of being concentrated in the hands of one person, were now separated: the legislature, executive, and judiciary. Now, where was this written? Think. It was written in the book of Montesquieu. What did he write? The Spirit of Laws, and he was inspired by the American democracy. That is why now France is divided into three institutions: legislature, executive, and judiciary. All of this made France a constitutional monarchy. What do you mean by constitutional monarchy? Can't it just be monarchy or can't it just be democracy? No, because the king still exists, the king is still ruling, and just that the constitution limits the powers of the king. Even now, the rules and the regulation are passed by the king, but before he can pass that, the legislature, executive, and the judiciary will check upon the rules and then it will be passed to France. This is the meaning of constitutional monarchy. The Constitution of 1791 vested the power to make laws in the National Assembly. I've already told you about this, right? And this was indirectly elected. So how was this indirectly elected? Let us see that. Citizens voted for a group of electors, and these electors, they choose the assembly. But there is one sad point over here. All citizens do not have the right to vote. Only men. See, even over here, women are not allowed. Only men of 25 years of age or above who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wage were given the status of active citizens. That is, they were entitled to vote. So now the citizens were classified into two types: active citizens and passive citizens. Who were the active citizens? Men of 25 years of age and above. This is not enough. They have to pay the taxes that is equal to at least 3 days of a laborer's wage. Who were passive citizens? The remaining men and all women were classified as passive citizens. To qualify as an elector and then as a member of the assembly, a man had to belong to the highest bracket of taxpayers. So this is the way France became a constitutional monarchy. After all this was done, the constitution began with the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. Now what does all this include? It includes right to life, right to food, right to health, etc. Let's see what happens next. Now, as France is already a constitutional monarchy, the people of the National Assembly decide that they want to make France a republic. That means almost independent. Okay. The situation of France continued to be a tense during the following years. Now comes the twist to the story. Though Louis XVI had agreed that his powers would be controlled by the constitution, he entered into secret negotiations with the king of Persia. But the people won't allow this. Before this could happen, the National Assembly voted in April 1792 and they declared a war against Persia and Austria. Thousands of volunteers thronged from the provinces to join the army. They saw this as a war of the people against kings all over the Europe. When all this was happening, they sang a lot of patriotic songs. But among them, one of them was Marseillaise. Who composed Marseillaise? This is a very important question. Who composed Marseillaise? Robert de Lisle composed Marseillaise. It was sung for the first time by volunteers from Marseilles as they marched into Paris, and that is why this song got its name. Today, the national anthem of France is Marseillaise. Okay, let's move on and see next. The revolutionary was brought losses and economic difficulties to the people. While the men were away fighting at the front, women were left to cope with the task of earning a living and looking after their families. So this is the work of women. They always only are given all the household works. But we'll see that women also start a revolution. First, let's concentrate on how France became republic. Constitution of 1791 gave political rights only to the richer sections of the society. Political clubs became an important rallying point for people who wished to discuss the government policies and plan their own forms of action. Now, here we will also learn about the Jacobins and their club. But for now, let's keep it up like a suspense and we'll learn the rest in the next video. With this, I would like to end today's video session. I will meet you in my next video, that is the French Revolution Part 3. We will learn about Jacobins and the Region of Terror. Bye and meet you in Part 3.